Hi, welcome to Living the Good Life with Osteogenesis Imperfecta. I'm your host, Sean Stevenson. I am thrilled and humbled and super honored to have you on this program right now. I'm going to explain the format of this program, and then I'm going to share a bit of a confession with you. And then last but not least, I'm going to address how you can absorb this material best. So first of all, thank you for taking time out of your day, out of your life to be with me on this program. I know there's a lot of things that you could be doing right now, and I just want to wish you a happy Wishbone Day. For those that know that that's a kind of like an OI holiday that was started a few years back to get out the awareness of osteogenesis imperfecta. I looked all through my wardrobe. I have nothing yellow. Next year, if I do a program, I'm going to have to get a Wishbone shirt. So black is what you get today here, is what I'm wearing. And let me explain to you the format of this program. I decided to do this online as a webinar so that people from around the world can view it. It's also being recorded, like I said. If you aren't able to attend the whole program, let's say you got to run to dinner or you got to get the phone or anything that may happen, I understand, and I just want you to be at peace and know that this is being recorded both on video and audio, so this will be available free of charge after this program is aired live, so that you can share it with your spouse or your children or whomever may need to see this program in your life. So just relax. If they're not here right now, you can show this to them later. This program, I'm shooting for about an hour long. It could go as long as 90 minutes. And if you can't stay the whole 90 minutes, no worries. This will be shown again, as I said. I also want you to know that I've broken this program into two major parts. The first part I call Growing Up with OI. The second part I call Living with OI. And another way of saying that is being an adult with OI, because I think that they're two totally different experiences, or at least they have been for me. And I think this moment is the best time for me to just kind of give you a little bit of a disclaimer and let you know that this program is not being sponsored by the OI Foundation. There's no medical foundation behind this. There's no sponsorship. This is just Sean Stevenson's opinions about what it's like growing up with OI and living with OI. So as you listen to this material, know that it's just what's worked for me, that there may be parts that don't work for you, and that's okay. And I am not offended in the slightest if you take what works for you from this program and throw out the rest. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to encourage you to consider the metaphor of going shopping for clothes and having OI, no matter what size or shape you are, you know that it's a bit unique looking for clothes. And you got to go to the store and maybe try on the pair of pants or try on the shirt and see how long the sleeves are and all that. You have to try things on before you know whether it fits. So I ask that you take this material and you try it on. See if it fits for you. Maybe even wear it for a day or two. See how the material that I'm sharing with you makes sense in your life. At first, it may not. At first, it may cause a little bit of a pushback. Some of the things I might say could upset you a little bit, and I want you to hang in there with me. I'm going to be as extremely appropriate and family-friendly as humanly possible, but I want you to know there may be some things that I tell you about what I've done in my life growing up and living with OI that maybe goes up against some of your belief systems or some of your ways of viewing the world, and that's okay. Just hang in there with me and see how it's affected me, these mindsets and attitudes and actions that I've taken and how they've impacted my life. If you feel that resistance, just calm down and say, all right, let me hear Sean out. I think it'll be the best mindset for handling this program. Now to my confession. I have to tell you that I was scared to put this program on. I was in my little exercise area. I built a little homemade gym that I'll tell you about on this program. And I was working out and I was thinking about how Wishbone Day is coming up. When I was working out, it was coming up. And it's one day after my birthday. I was born on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. And so I was like, wow, it would be really cool for my 35th birthday, the day after that, if I were to hold a program free of charge that was filled with information about how I've lived my life and what I've done to succeed amidst having a very difficult challenge of OI. And then the voices came up, the insecurities, the fears, the people are going to say, you know, Sean, who are you to be an expert on OI? You know, you're not a geneticist. You're not a family counselor dealing with disabilities. Sean, you can't tell parents about how to raise children. You don't even have children. And Sean, they're going to think you're a know-it-all and arrogant and self-centered and narcissistic for claiming that you have information for them. And I got really freaked out. I got weirded out, and I wondered, maybe I shouldn't do this. Because what if people judge me? What if people make fun of me? What if people say some nasty things about me? And I kept working out, and I just got calm, and I thought, Sean, you've been judged your whole life. You've been stared at, and people have made all kinds of false assumptions about who you are and what you're capable of from the moment you were born. Why, if you have valuable information for people around the world, wouldn't you want to share it at the risk of still being teased, made fun of, or even yelled at? Wouldn't it be worth it? Wouldn't it be worth facing that fear and getting this information out there to the community? And that's why I went straight to my computer and I went onto Facebook and I said, okay, this program is going to be called Living the Good Life with Osteogenesis Imperfecta. And that may be a unique way of saying this because in the past I've seen a lot of programs, whether it's with OI or any disability, where it's like dealing with your disorder or handling the obstacles. And it's like, how inspiring is that? Not at all. I wanted to celebrate my life and all the lives of people with OI who have done great things. I love going into Google and typing in osteogenesis imperfecta and seeing phenomenal stories of people around the world that are doing really cool things. I love seeing wedding photos of people who have OI. I love seeing family vacations of people with their children with OI. I love hearing announcements about how a grandparent just had a baby with OI and they're looking for some support. I love celebrating OI. I know recently there was a series of something coming out that was a little bit negative about OI, about like raising money with a negative connotation on a t-shirt, I believe. And I'm not here to get into political conversations. I'm not here to tell people that fundraising with creative ideas is wrong and bad. But I'm just going to tell you that I don't curse osteogenesis imperfecta. I don't curse at it. I don't look at it as a disease. I don't look at it as some freak of nature that's bad and a curse. I think that OI is awesome. And I've been called delusional for that. And I've been made fun of. And I've been had people roll their eyes at me and say that I'm just living in candy land. But I gotta say, I live a really good life because I choose to look at my container and my condition as awesome. And as I go into this program with you, I want to share with you some of my attitude about OI, some of my views on OI, and some of the things that I've done with my body and with this condition. Because I'm not going to put on rose-colored glasses here and tell you that it's always been easy. Heck no. Absolutely not. I've had over 200 bone fractures, and I know that there's people possibly watching this program that have had more than that. I know what it feels like to have a rod pulled out of my bone marrow when I was awake back in the day before they knew all the details about putting people all the way asleep. I mean, I've had teeth removed because there was infections in my jaw and the Novocaine couldn't get to it. I've had lots of physical pain, and I'm probably, definitely, preaching to the choir here. So, osteogenesis imperfecta hasn't always been filled with roses, but I can say it's been amazing to learn from it. And the way I could start this program off best, in my opinion, is to tell you, if you want to really make an impact on this planet and inspire people and have a good life, you can't hold anything in your mind about osteogenesis imperfecta that weighs you down. You can't lock on to anything that is unfair or sucks and have that define you in your life. You'll get left behind. And you'll get left behind by people who feel sorry for you. In fact, I believe that the biggest challenge of OI is not fracturing bones or needing rotting surgeries or having adaptations to your car or wheelchair. It's feeling sorry for yourself. It's hoping that other people feel sorry for you. Because pity is a drug, and not a good drug that causes the lack of pain. It's the bad kind of drugs that cause more pain. Pity is very addictive. And if you want to succeed with osteogenesis imperfecta, you can't buy into the pity. So as we start this program, I want to tell you that pity is a waste of time. There's no need for it in your life. And if somebody pities you, it's your responsibility, according to me, it's your responsibility to wipe that out of their mind lovingly. Not be angry at them, not be militant, but truly show them that you live an incredible quality life where pity never even enters into their mindset when they think of you. So as I start this program, I'm here to say, let's love our lives, no matter what our containers look like. So when I go into this growing up with OI, I'm going to break it into lessons. I'm going to start with the lessons for the guardians, the parents, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, the people that may have children, young adults with OI that you're looking after, raising, inspiring, influencing. And so I'm going to give you some lessons right away. And then I'm going to give lessons to those growing up with OI, those that are in grade school, junior high, high school, or college, that I would still say are growing up with OI. So let's start with the guardians, those looking after those with OI. Lesson number 1. You need to become a velvet hammer. When I came into this world, I, like many of us with OI, were given the prognosis of death. Sean's not going to make it. The experts told my parents, enjoy the time you have with him because he's not going to last very long. And so that's exactly what they did. They surrounded me with love. My mom pumped breast milk into bottles and had my dad go to the hospital and feed it to me on his lunch breaks. They dealt with people who said that I was not going to make it. And I'm sure I'm hitting pretty close to home for many people watching this program. And there's an interesting way to handle negative predictions. You can either believe them and say, oh, this is just the way it's going to be. We're going to die. It's just, let's pack it up. Or you could take on the energy of, no, I'm going to be a leader. We're going to make this work. And if we get 1 day with this child, let's enjoy this 1 day. If we get 1 year, I mean, who knows how long we get with this child. Let's lovingly surround this child. And my parents, who have done a wonderful job in my life, what they realized is this first lesson. And that is, you have to be a velvet hammer. Imagine a hammer. It's this tool that can bang a nail into a wall or into a board, and it's strong and powerful. But think about what velvet is. It's plush. It's soft. Imagine velvet wrapping around a hammer. So it's both elegant and soft, but also still very powerful. And as you're being a guardian, helping those growing up with Elide, you have to know you're going to go into a lot of arenas where people have never dealt with somebody like your child, never dealt with somebody like your grandchild, never dealt with somebody like your niece, nephew, whoever it is you're looking after. And you can go in there and just be a hammer and be all militant and forceful. And I've seen that. I've watched that in parents before. And guess what? They sometimes get some results. They can bang people around until they get their way. But they don't make lasting connections with those around them. And you also can't be a pushover. You can't just be soft either. You can't just say, oh, well, okay, I guess my child can't be in the musical because he's in a wheelchair and there may be too much commotion on the stage, and that might make the music teacher uncomfortable, so, okay, I guess we won't push on that. You can't tolerate that either. And I'm actually recalling an actual incident when I was a freshman in high school, and my parents were told that I couldn't be in the musical because there was going to be a lot of movement on the stage and I might get hurt. And my parents met with the superintendent or the principal and said, you know what, then let's set it up so that Sean's not in the way of all the commotion, but he should still be in this musical. He's got a good voice. He's a good actor. Judge him on his merit, not his condition. And if they would have gone in there just like the hammer, they might have got their way, but it would have been really uncomfortable for me to be there because everybody would have known that my parents just bullied their way in, as opposed to being the velvet hammer and saying, hey, let's think out of the box. How can we make this work for the music teacher, for the students in the program, and for Sean, and for the audience? And that velvet hammer, it's a combination of 3 characteristics. Number 1, staying calm. It doesn't matter how old you are, what arena you're in. If you enter into a situation and you remain calm, you will automatically gain more respect from those around you. Number 2, for being a velvet hammer, you have to be assertive. And being assertive, meaning you need to set your boundaries of how you will be tolerated, how you will be treated, and make it very clear, this is how I'm going to be respected, and I'm just asking for what everybody else gets. That's all. I'm not asking for preferential treatment. I'm just asking to be respected and being treated with respect. And then the last part of being a velvet hammer is being respectful. And by being respectful, it's about acknowledging the principal, the teacher, the babysitter, whoever you're dealing with that you're maybe having some challenges with because they don't know how to handle somebody with a lie. If you're respectful to them, if you point out their value, if you honor and cherish them, if you compliment them, creating that atmosphere of respect on top of being assertive and calm, you will be a solid velvet hammer, which when raising somebody with osteogenesis imperfecta, you're going to need. I think that a good way of also looking at this is you need to remain flexible, but also establish your boundaries of what's important to you. And if you remain flexible, but you also establish your boundaries, then you're probably doing a great job of being a velvet hammer. Number two, when being a guardian, parent, grandparent of somebody with OI, is you're going to need to make allies. You're going to need to go into the PTA and make friends with all the parents. You're going to need to go into the school teachers and spend time with the teachers, help volunteer maybe with them. You're going to have to go in and be visible, make allies. Because the people who feel that you're on their team and they feel that you're working with them, not against them, they're going to be creative and they're going to surprise you at times. The ones that are a little stodgy and, well, we don't know how we can do that, whether they're the medical community or they're the education community or you're trying to help your child get a part-time job, whatever it is. If you make allies from the start, that's going to have a huge impact on your child's development. You need to look at it from the analogy that I like to see it as, imagine you're driving your car and somebody rear ends you and you get out of your car and you're furious, right? And you start screaming at this person driving the car behind you. And they hop out of the car and you realize it's one of your dear friends. And you're like, oh my God, are you all right? Like, everything shifts when it's somebody that you care about. You're no longer on the defense. You're no longer resistant. You're wanting to know if they're okay. The same thing is true when making allies. When people are feeling like they're on your same team, when they're your friend, when there's a conflict that arises, when there's a bit of an accident that shows up, you will get a totally different response from that person if you are their ally. Lesson number 3 in raising a child with OI is you need to get creative. You need to loop this question in your mind. And the question is, how can we do this? The question, how can we do this, probably crossed my parents' mind and lips, I don't know, a couple thousand times in my childhood. And we didn't always have the answer right away. Sometimes we had to ask that question a couple of times to ourselves. And I'll give you an example. I would fracture a bone as a child, like a tailbone, which I don't know if you fractured that, but it sucks. And you're laying on your stomach. And as a kid, I had to, still go through school and still keep up with my classes. But when I was on my stomach, how did I read? Well, we had to ask the question, how can we do this? So my parents kind of put me on a pad, they put me on my stomach, and they slid a mirror in front of my face, about 6 inches away from my face. And then they could put the book behind me so I could see the book. Or they could put a TV behind me with a VCR back in the day and put the movie on about what they were learning about in school. Whatever it is, we had to have me reflected off of that mirror. That's just one of many, many adaptations that my parents had to do to get creative. You're going to have to be so creative when it comes to raising your child with this condition. And everybody with OI has a different experience. When I was born in 1979, they had 4 classifications for OI. I think I was called type 3. Now there's something like 14 or 15 classifications of OI. So I'm not going to sit here on this program today and tell you that somebody with, a different type is going to have a totally different, the same exact experience as me. Not necessarily. And just because I have OI doesn't make me an expert on OI. It just makes me an expert on being me. And how I've gone through my life is working on being me. And so as you hear this and you think about this message, I want you to see how you can relate it to your type or your child's type. Because one of the questions that I got from somebody before this program, they emailed to me, they said, Sean, I have a invisible type of OI. I've only fractured something like 40 times maybe, but you can't even tell that I have OI. I'm normal height, I'm walking, and so how do I deal with this disability when no one even knows I have it? And I'm not even going to sit here and tell you that I have the perfect answer for you, but I do know this. No matter what type you have or your child has with OI, we all have something in common, and that's emotion. And if you learn to master your emotions, you can get through OI. And there are going to be roller coaster days with OI. Sometimes you're gonna get all kinds of awesome experiences because people are gonna see this beautiful kid with incredible energy, yet dealing with this disability, and you're gonna maybe get invitations to do fun things that maybe you would have never had available to you if that child didn't have OI. And then there's gonna be nights where you're packed up and ready to go on vacation, and your child goes to put on their coat and snap, their arm breaks, and vacation is canceled, or their leg breaks, or who knows, whatever happens, and they have to be immobilized, and everything comes on hold. And I love what my parents have taught many other people with OI and those raising people with OI, and that is when somebody in a family has OI, everybody in the family in some level has OI. If you got a family of 5 and the youngest has OI, the 4 other people have some version of OI now, not physically but emotionally, because you all deal with the challenges of feeling the frustrations at times. You all deal with the moments that you feel that are unfair. You all hear the blood-curdling screams of pain. You all look into the eyes of the blue sclera and see the unfair days. It affects everybody in the family. And I don't think that that's something that we should be feeling sorry for ourselves. I think we should see it as a bonding glue, because OI has the ability to tear a family apart, or it has the ability to bring people closer together. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of decision of those in the family. I've heard that 97% of marriages end when a child of that marriage is born with a disability. Not specifically OI, but disability in general. 97% of marriages don't last. My goodness. Then what does that say about the 3% that says that they had that disability bond them closer together? And that's what my parents were told by the nurses and doctors. When I was born, one nurse said, you got to make a choice. Is osteogenesis imperfecta going to bring you closer together as a married couple? Or is it going to divide you? And as a family, you need to get together and say, are we going to deal with this? Or are we going to feel sorry for ourselves? And I think when you start talking that openly with your children and your spouse, and take away the poor me factor of OI and bond with it as a team, amazing things can come from it. When I think about my childhood, I'm 35 now, right? And so we'll just say childhood ended about the time I got to college or graduated college. I have 2 ways of viewing it. I can either look back on everything that was denied to me because of my condition. I could look at all of the frustrations of people who were closed-minded and said they didn't want any part of my life. You know, and I have stories that I could pull up right now, and you do too, where, you know, I just think right now, in high school, one kid came up to me, and he was a good friend of mine. He said, Sean, I can't be your friend anymore. My parents have told me that I need to be outside playing, not inside being with you doing video games and board games. They want me to get out, and I can't hang out with you anymore. I was devastated, you know, and I had many times where I would drop pencils on the ground, you know, or anything, and my friends would be like, ah, you know, Sean, why do you drop so many things? And I could pull up all kinds of memories of when my childhood was painful. I had moments where, you know, girls would fall in love with me, and then their classmates would make fun of them for liking the weird guy in the wheelchair, and then they would break up with me in junior high. I mean, if I look at my childhood through those lenses, I could cry on command. Or if I look back and I think about how my family bonded, how we would build floats. My father would take cardboard and build floats around my wheelchair, you know, I mean like parade floats. And they would be like anything from race cars to pirate ships to mummy coffins to you name it, uh, trains. And when I would think about going to school and Halloween with those costumes on, or being in the local 4th of July parade, or when I would think about being on family vacations and people coming up to me and saying, oh, wow, what, you know, what's with your disability? And the conversations that it would start, and how, you know, as I grew older, I could still fit in my mom's lap and cuddle with her. And if I think back on my life about the wonderful things that took place and how we bonded together with OI. I think my childhood was amazing. You have a choice as a family, as an individual. Are you going to look at what sucks about OI and just brood about it and be all negative? I don't think that's going to lead to a good life. I think you have a choice. And so, to those that are young kids, maybe you're grade school, junior high school, college, I want to give you 3 lessons now about growing up with OI. First of all, I'm going to say the same thing to you. Just because I have OI doesn't mean I know what you're going through. I'm not in your body. I haven't had the specific fractures that you've had or the disability parameters that you may have had, and I'm not going to proclaim that I'm some kind of expert on what it's like for you to have OI. But I can tell you that these are 3 lessons that I've learned that have helped me out. Number 1, you got to be friendly. You have to be friendly with your classmates. You have to be friendly with strangers. You have to be friendly when you're applying for jobs, you know, like summer jobs. You have to be friendly when people are even discriminating against you. You know, they're saying mean things and teasing you. You have to remain friendly. Why? Because you already have the challenge of your disability. You already are maybe short in your wheelchair. You already may be dealing with a lot of bone breaks. You might already be dealing with people staring at you. So if you remain friendly, you're going to be like a positive magnet. And you're going to bring friendliness toward you. If you're angry or sulking and feeling sorry for yourself and poor me and boo-hoo and, you know, this isn't fair and all that is going to push the positive people away. And people are going to feel sorry for you. And they're going to look at you as weird. And they're not going to want to be your friend. You have to be friendly. It's what's helped me get along in my life. It's helped me succeed in my life. And friendly is not just being nice to the people that are nice to you. It's about being nice to everybody, even if they don't deserve it. I know it's hard. I know it sounds weird, but I need you to just try it on. Because when you're friendly, that means you look at the bright side. You look at the positive things. And you also are kind to people. And when I say you're kind, I mean you're complimenting other people. And you are playful and you're smiling and you're a delight to be around. That's important because it's going to be a magnet, as I said, to bringing other people that are positive into your world. And you're going to need support from lots of people. You're going to need support from teachers. You're going to need support from your classmates. You're going to need support for people that you eventually work for or have as customers if you own your own business someday. You need to remain friendly. Lesson number 2 for you, my friend, is you need to focus on what you can do. There's a lot you probably feel you can't do. Maybe you can't run. Maybe you can't climb. Maybe you can't play basketball. Maybe you feel that you can't be a model. Or maybe you feel whatever it is you feel you can't do. If you keep on focusing on that, it's going to frustrate you. It's going to cause you to continue to feel sorry for yourself. And it's going to be bringing a lot of tears and anger your way. And you know what? Sometimes that's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to feel sorry for yourself. And that's okay. But you can't stay there for long. You can't continue to beat yourself up because of this container. Look, we got interesting bodies, don't we? I mean, my arms are all bent and I've been called all kinds of mean and rude and nasty things. But by staying friendly and by focusing on what I can do, by looking at the fact that I have a brain that works, I can communicate what I want with my mouth. I can be talented in many different areas. You know, maybe you're good at poetry. Maybe you're a good singer. Maybe you're good at making movies. Maybe you're good in math. Maybe you feel like, you could be a writer. Whatever it is that you're good at, you need to focus on that. You need to focus on what you can do. Because life is very difficult, whether you have OI or not, if you're always looking at what you can't do and you're comparing yourself to other people. One of the things that I have to remind myself of, even as an adult, is that when I focus on what other people have and what other people are doing that look awesome, then I feel like garbage. I feel sad and angry. But if I focus on making my life awesome, then life gets better. You have to focus on making your life awesome. Focus on what you can do. The third lesson that I want to share with you about growing up with OI is you need to be the most amazing person that you can be with your condition. And you need to see your condition, and if it makes you look different than the rest of the world, as that it's not making you look weird. I've had people talk to me before that have had all kinds of disabilities. I once met a girl whose fingers were grown together and her hands looked like frogs. She didn't have OI, she had another kind of disability. And she was saying, "But Sean, I look weird." And I said, "Sweetie, you don't look weird. You look memorable. People remember you." Let me tell you, OI has made me memorable. OI has made you memorable. And that's a gift. Because people in this world, there's so many of us. There's like 7 billion people or something on the planet. And most people spend their whole lives trying to do things to stick out. They spike their hair. They get all kinds of ear piercings, and although I do have a couple ear piercings, they do all kinds of things to get attention. And You don't have to do any of those things. You just have to show up. You just have to appear, and people remember you. When people meet you, more than likely, if you have a variation of OI that is visible, they will remember you forever. And that's why I think it's important for you to be amazing. Don't compare yourself to other people, even with disabilities. Because one of the things that helped me to grow up and be successful is I didn't want to just be the most amazing person with OI. That wasn't my goal. I wanted to be the most amazing person that I could be, regardless of the fact that I had OI, regardless of the fact that many people were going to label me as having a disability. I wanted to be awesome at what I did. If I was filming a TV show for my high school TV station, I wanted it to be the most awesome TV show. Who cares that I was in a wheelchair and 3 feet tall? When I tried out for the school musical, I wanted to be the awesome, singer in the chorus or a lead singer in the musical. I didn't care that I had this disability. I didn't have my decisions based on, well, what can I do with OI? No, I said, what can I do? How can I be the most amazing person on this planet? And another bonus lesson that I want to share with you is you got to have fun. There are going to be times where you're going to be sad. And I want you to know that's okay. But you got to have fun. And you got to be friendly. And you got to focus on what you can do. You got to be the most amazing person that you can be. Don't try to compare yourself to other people. Bring yourself into this world with fun and have a great time. Now I want to talk to you all about living with OI. I mean, there's numerous questions that I'm going to answer specifically about growing up with OI. I got all the questions emailed to me in advance because I knew it would be too chaotic to try to take questions live on this program. So I'm going to address some of these questions at the end of the program. And like I said, the program is going to be anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. It's probably going to lean closer to 90. We're about halfway through. And if you can't stay on this whole program, no worries. It's being recorded both on video and audio, so you'll be able to watch this later or show it to your spouse or your kids or whomever. But I want to go into living with OI. Actually, you're out of childhood, you've made it through the challenges of being stared at, but guess what? They never go away, especially if you have a form of OI that stunts your growth, makes you look different physically. And I want to break down living with OI into 3 categories. There's health, wealth, and relationships. And by no means can I answer every single thing about health, wealth, and relationships with OI. I'm just going to touch on a few of the things that I've learned with OI and a few of the things that have made an impact on my life. And I really do hope that people share these things and be educators yourself. That as you're listening to this program, if something that I tell you makes sense and works for you, please go out there and share it with others. I'm not here to try to eat up all the credit and say that Sean Stevenson is some kind of OI, guru. I'm a guy with OI that has enjoyed his life. And it's because I've learned how to do the things that I'm about to share with you. So let's get into health. And right away, I'm going to touch on a touchy subject. I have been looking at some of the statistics of mortality rates with OI. Mortality meaning death, and what kills us. And you'll get a lot of questions in your life of what's your lifespan? And how long are you going to live? And you probably think it yourself, especially if you were giving the prognosis of death as a child. And the stats are interesting because it used to be that accidents were one of the biggest killers of people with OI. And then that's recently been passed up. It's actually obesity now. And I want to just take this time to talk about a very touchy subject, which is health and weight and wellness and movement, because I do see a trend in society. Let's not even talk about OI for a moment. This planet is getting heavier. This planet is getting more unhealthy. This planet is overeating, and this planet is getting more and more lazy physically. We're spending most of our time behind computers. We're spending most of our time not outdoors moving around. We spend most of our time behind digital devices as opposed to actually getting out there in the world. And so because of that, obesity is killing off prematurely many souls from this planet. Now, you take that alarming statistic just about the average population dying off and dealing with obesity, then you throw it into a life of somebody who's in a wheelchair. You throw it into a life of somebody whose bones break a lot more easily than the average person, and you're going to have a whole new equation on your hand. And I've seen the trend, and I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to point fingers. I'm not here to tell you that if you're overweight, that there's something wrong with you. Look, I can barely run my own life, so I'm not here to tell you how to run yours. But I am going to be honest with you and say that by carrying extra weight around on our bodies, it makes our disability even harder. It's harder on our lungs, and our condition affects our lung tissue. It's harder on our cardiovascular system and how our hearts are beating. It's harder on our arteries. It's just overall very difficult to live with OI if we're carrying extra weight. And so therefore, I just want to address right now that there are some things that I have done in my life to stay in good shape, stay in top physical form. Because most people aren't ever going to challenge you if, let's say, you have OI and you're overweight, or have OI and you're smoking cigarettes and eating crappy food and you're unhealthy. You're not going to get challenged by the average population. Why? Because they're so petrified of calling you out because they think, oh, that poor young man or that poor lady with OI, that poor person in the wheelchair. You know, maybe their only joy in life is eating their Chick-fil-A and drinking their soda and having their cigarettes. And so we'll let them die early and not tell them to go to the gym because we have no idea what it's like for them. And because of this, our population of those with OI are turning into beach balls. And you know, it's true. When you're 3 feet tall and you put on weight, you turn into a beach ball. And we can't have that. We have to be exercising. We have to be eating right. If anything, we need to make that a higher priority than the rest of the world. But it's not easy. And I get that if you're raising a child and they want their junk food and they look up at you with those pretty blue sclera eyes, they say, Mommy, I want to go have some junk food. I want a cupcake. I want to play more video games and not move. It's hard to say no. But as parents, and I'm not one, but I'm a therapist and I work with parents who raise children with OI, and I tell them all the same. Don't give your kids everything they want, because some of what they want isn't always going to be good for them. And the same thing with you. Don't give yourself everything you want, especially if what you want is toxic. That's where self-control plays an important role in life. That's where we have to say, what's more important, to feel good in the moment or to feel good over the course of my life? Because greasy, heavy, high-calorie, sugary foods and drinks, oh, I get it. They're tasty. They're yum-yums. I like them too. but I can't keep indulging in them. And I want to talk about the motorized chairs for a moment. And this is where I could cause some resistance in people's lives. And I ask you, just listen to me, hear me out. I believe if you have OI and your arms are long enough to reach manual wheels, you should be pushing your own wheelchair as much as possible. I believe that it is a big indicator that more and more motorized wheelchairs are on the market. And I think that's awesome. And that's great if it gives you some physical independence. I'm sure that's wonderful. But I see what happens. Individuals, especially the children, they get in these motorized wheelchairs and they have their little joystick. And this is their movement for their day. They race over here. Come here, mommy. They race over here. Come here, daddy. And this is their only exercise. And they feel independent, and it's great for a while, but then they turn into beach balls, and then they get sick, and then they have problems breathing, and then they pass away at 23. You don't believe me? Just look around. I've lost friends with OI to obesity, whose struggle was never challenged. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that myself, and I'm not going to be cowardly and not speak up. I love you, OI community, enough to say, if you can reach the wheels, get out of these motorized chairs, or just use the motorized chairs for part of your day. I mean, if the only way you can move is the motorized chair, then by all means. But if you can reach wheels, come on, people, let's move. All right, so I'm off my soapbox. I want to get into some more lessons. Number one was, if you can reach the wheels, move. Number two is get moving. When I exercised as a child, I didn't actually exercise as a child. I was a teenager when I started exercising. I came across an individual named Tony Robbins, and for some of you, you may know who he is. He's that big motivational speaker guy with the big teeth that does those infomercials. He was on Shallow Hal. Anyway, he showed up in my life, and he said to me at one of his live events, Sean, you could probably, through your diet and exercise, really take control of your health. I know that you have all these bone fractures, and he could see I had all kinds of acne at the time, and I was lethargic, and I had back pain. I mean, pretty much for the first 18 years of my life, I had horrible back pain. I had brace made, like that went around my body, try to straighten my spine up. I had numerous things to try to get rid of the pain that the doctors were prescribing. None of them really worked. The only thing that started to work in my life was after Tony Robbins had told me, you need to change your diet and you need to start adding fitness and movement into your life. So what I did is I started filling up light water bottles, just very small water bottles, and I would fill them up partially with water, and then as I got stronger, I would fill them up more, and then I got bigger water bottles, and I just did some light weightlifting. And I know that that's scary, and I'm not telling you that your little children who are breaking with ease right now need to be lifting heavy weights. I'm not saying that. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not giving you exercise advice. What I'm just saying is what I've done. And what I did is I started off small, and I just moved my body. And I started doing some like circles with my arms, and I started doing some light flexing and some movements of flexibility through some stretching, because it's very easy with OI to be afraid to exercise. But I want to tell you that your bones need movement. Your muscles need to be developed for your strength. I mean, when I go into the doctor now, my doctors today, their jaws drop. They're like, what is going on? You have a six-pack set of abs. You have muscles in your back. You have traps. You have biceps and triceps. How did you develop all these things? Because we didn't tell you to do this stuff. And I said, exactly. I just started my own program. I started stretching slowly, and I built it up over time. Nothing too intense, nothing too much. And if something seemed like it was a little too much, I would back it down. And as time went on, I was able to build up my strength. And as you get older with OI, they've proven that when you come out of puberty, your body hopefully should naturally start strengthening. And as you start doing load-bearing exercises, pushing a wheelchair through physical movement, I built up a little gym. I'll try to post some photos online of this, but I used pulleys with weights so that I could pull down strings and a weight would go up as a counterpoint. And I've got these little push-up things that I could do little push-ups, and I got an exercise bike for my hands that I mounted to the wall. It's over to my left here, so I'm thinking about all the things. I put little Velcro weights on my legs, and I started lifting my legs. I got those little colored hand weights that you see for aerobics. I got them in different small weight denominations. I would just do simple weightlifting repetitions. I got a little medicine ball on Amazon.com that was like 1 pound. I just kept passing it back and forth between my hands. Then I would go up in weight as I felt safer and more comfortable doing that. Because I want to tell you that if you're scared of movement, I get it, but you still got to move. And if you're dealing with challenges as an adult and you're already overweight and you feel like, what's the use? It's too late, Sean. I'm already past what I can do. I disagree with you. I'm going to tell you that you need to take control of your diet. And I'll tell you, I went on a very plant-based, heavily diet in my life, and I went on an exercise regimen that I built myself. And I built up my muscles over time. I built up my strength, which I think helps with my immune system to ward off things like pneumonia, which we know affects OI people. I don't want pneumonia or other diseases to show up into my world when I already got OI. I don't want anything else to bother me. So, lesson number 3, because lesson number 2 was to keep moving. Lesson number 3 is no nasty toxins. What does that mean? Well, that means if you have OI and you smoke, what are you doing? Come on. I mean, you got lung tissue issue where it affects us. Our collagen affects building up our lung tissue and our bone marrow, and cigarettes pull out those nutrients from our bones. Things like caffeine and coffee, these are toxins. They break down the bones. Now, if you just talk to any doctor today about what you could be doing to strengthen your bones, they're probably going to tell you that it's through load bearing, meaning putting weight on yourself intentionally with exercise, and by having a diet that doesn't strip you of these essential nutrients. So you want to avoid the nasty toxins. You want to avoid the chemicals and the preservatives in the food. You want to eat a very clean diet, meaning things that have a very few ingredients like spinach and lettuce and broccoli, and even if you eat things with meat or even if you eat things with grain, that's okay, that's fine, but balance it out by having lots of vegetables. I make it a personal regimen of myself to have at least 1 meal a day that's all vegetables. Maybe I don't eat the other 2 meals that are good, but at least 1 meal a day is of vegetables. And I know that makes a difference. I'm not asking you to be perfect. No one's perfect. But if you want to live OI with strength, you need to be on top of your diet, you need to be moving, and you need to be staying away from toxins. Lesson number 4. Oh, I said it already, which is have at least 1 meal a day that's got fruits and vegetables in it, and that's got very few ingredients. If you're eating something where it's got a long list of ingredients, of chemicals that you can't even pronounce, that is not good for your body. That is not good for the bones. That is not good for your health. And I know it's tasty, And I know it's a good, nice treat when you're overwhelmed, or, maybe you got a good report card, and once in a while, fine. But if you're making it a regular part of your life, it's breaking down your bone density. Through diet, through exercise, I eliminated 18 years of back pain. Within like a few months, it went away. And I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen for you, but that's what happened for me. The last thing that I'm going to talk to you about health is that you need to remain calm. That stress is not good for anybody, let alone those with osteogenesis imperfecta. When you're living with OI, I think the greatest thing that you could be doing is find things that reduce stress and bring them into your life. And these things need to be positive and help you grow your mind, your body, or your spirit. And I'm talking about things like meditation. If you can meditate, or if you pray, or if you visualize positive things, or whatever it is that works for you, that calms your mind, helps you drop out of the chatterbox that's going on up here and into your heart, that's going to make a big difference in your life. It's going to help with your health tremendously. Having OI is not easy, but what's a great tool to dealing with OI is staying calm, and doing that through exercise, through meditation, through prayer, whatever it is for you, is going to make a difference. You have to make your health a high priority, whether you have OI or not. But I believe if you have OI, you really need to make your life a high priority. Because as I tell people, I don't exercise to get bulging muscles because no one notices. I don't get, people going, oh, look under his shirt, he has huge biceps. No, I don't. They're tiny in comparison to the average man who's 35 who has biceps. I don't do it for the vanity. I do it because when I'm taking care of my body through my diet and through my exercise, it gives me a huge advantage in not needing pain medications, in not having to deal with all kinds of other challenges that can arise in my life through my health. So I hope that some of that lands for you and that you're willing to try that on. I want to go into talking about career and wealth with OI. I am not here to tell you that I'm some multi-billionaire and that I've made huge money and that I never worry about money. That's not true. I can tell you that I've fortunately built up my own company, and I built up my own company as a professional speaker and an author and a therapist, because when I was in high school and I applied for the traditional jobs, I got turned down over and over and over by people who were blatantly discriminating against me. People who would say it out, Sean, we've hired somebody in a wheelchair before. It didn't go well, and so therefore we can't work with you. What? And I heard that time and time again. And I could have sued, it happened after 1990, after the Americans with Disabilities Act. But I didn't feel like I wanted to go work for a company that was going to have to be sued by me for me to work with them. Now, who knows if I went to apply for a job today, if I would have those same responses? Probably not. We've come a long way since then as a human race. But what I did when I met that resistance is I said, okay, what can I do? I can start my own company. I can educate people about what it's like to have a disability. I can educate people what it's like to be positive and happy. I can talk about confidence. And when I was in high school, I got my first paid speaking engagement. I got paid $75 to speak to another high school. And I thought, holy cow, that's a lot of video games. Because back in the 80s or 90s, that was a lot of money to a high school student. And I started off as a speaker. And when I was in college, I started speaking to high schools. When I was in college, I started to speak to other colleges. I would speak to companies. I started speaking at hospitals, and more organizations would call wanting to have Sean Stevenson speak. And I built up my own company, and at one point, I had kids in my audience that would come up to me and talk to me about their challenges. And one girl rolled up her sleeves and she had cuts all up and down her arms. And she said, Sean, why am I self-mutilating? And I didn't know. I mean, I had OI, but I didn't ever cut myself. I didn't ever intentionally harm myself. And so I knew I needed to find out more information. So I went back to school and I became a therapist. And I finished out with my doctorate degree in clinical hypnosis to study how the mind of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind work together. And that's when I started my career as a therapist, working with people with challenges. And I juggle those three different careers, the speaker, the author, and the therapist. And what's been great is that I've been able to educate people about living the best life that they can. And the reason why I bring this up to you is maybe you could be a speaker. Maybe you should be writing and be a blogger. Maybe you could be a therapist yourself. Maybe you could be a counselor. Whatever it is that you feel like you could start your own company, I'm here to tell you, with a disability, with OI, it is great being your own boss. But not everybody's going to want to do that. Not everybody's going to have the means to be able to pull that off, and I understand that. And whatever job you apply for, if you apply some of these principles about being the velvet hammer, about building up the allies, about being friendly, those types of attitudes that I shared earlier in this program really help when hiring somebody with a disability. Because even though we have laws to protect us, and I'm a big believer that a law is only as good as the enforcement of the law. So I believe that when we go into a position, we have to be proactive and positive, and we need to set the tone for those that are hiring us. If we go in there militant and demanding, we're setting a bad example for those with disabilities. I've met many people who are angry with OI and other disabilities. And angry people with disabilities is not a good combo for anybody, because just looking at somebody with a disability for the average person is different. It's unique. It may be uncomfortable. But if you come in there with a bad attitude and they're already uncomfortable, you just make it worse. It skyrockets. Whereas if you bring a positive attitude, if you're proactive, if you develop allies and you're friendly, and you show up with a great set of talents that you've honed and worked on, then you can change minds where people start thinking, whoa, I actually didn't see this person coming. This person is super impressive. And the goal that I've had in my life, in my career, is I've been an individual who has wanted my disability to almost be like a footnote, where people forget that I have the disability, where people aren't thinking about OI as the number one thing that defines who I am, that they think about my personality, that they think about the results that I get, that they think about how I make them feel. That's how we need to lead when we have OI. That's how we need to go into the workforce. That type of energy is what allows us to either develop a company and get customers that want to work with us, or get employers that want to hire us and have us climb the ladder. And I'm not a big believer that money is the end all to all success. It's not. It's great. I've had money come into my life and it's been fun, but it's not brought me happiness. Nothing is greater, in my opinion, than being able to give back. Nothing has been greater than being able to contribute to the lives of others. I mean, I'm doing this program right now free of charge. And some people even ask me, why are you not charging? Because I feel like it's a really cool resource and a gift to have OI and to be able to share what I've learned with the community. And to me, I think that money is great, but giving back is even better. And you got to have that in balance. It's good to give back, but you also have to pay your bills. And I've been building my business since 1997, and I can tell you that along my way, people have said, why is he charging to give advice? And I've gotten comments on websites and blogs of people saying, why doesn't he do what he does, for everybody for free all the time? Well, I gotta pay my bills, and you gotta pay yours. And if you have advice to give, you should be charging for it. If you have a talent that could improve a company, you should get a good salary for it. So I'm here to tell you that when you enter into the workforce, you need to have three things. Number one, you need to develop your skills so that people see you as bringing something massive to the table, and that your skill outweighs the appearance of your condition. Number two, you need to apply for, what am I saying here? Apply for what you can. Oh, number two is when it comes to wealth, um, you you don't want to have any shame in looking for federal funding. If you need to go through college and you need to go through a work program, and there is a program out there for people with disabilities that the federal government, whatever country you're from, supports, go for it. Apply for it. That's awesome. I'm a big believer that it's there for you. And so apply for it. That's awesome. Don't feel any shame about that. But I've met a lot of people with OI and with other disabilities that don't want to work at all. They just want to collect some kind of disability pay, and they just want to mooch off the government. And I think that's sad. Not because how dare they and that's pathetic. No, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying because they have talents. They have a mind. They have something brilliant that they could bring to the world, that they could actually be charging for and paid for. And so you want to bring that out. The next thing when it comes to your wealth and your career is you have to know that when you're growing up and living with OI, there are going to be some costs that the rest of the world will never have to incur. There are going to be adaptations to your house. There are going to be adaptations to your car. There are going to be things that will cost you more to grow up with OI. And you can either be angry about that and you can fight it, or you can get creative. You can save up and make it happen. You can apply for those grants. You can do whatever you can, but you can't get all angry about it. You can't feel sorry for yourself because it may cost you more. I know my health insurance, oh my goodness, I pay a lot for my health insurance, and I'm fortunate to even have it because of my pre-existing condition. But yet I'm happy to the fact that I do have it. So you have to look at the fact that there are going to be things that are going to cost you more, and you can't get angry about that. The last part that I want to finish up with is I want to talk to you about relationships. And I want to talk about love with OI. Because I believe that finding love was my biggest challenge. It was not the broken bones. It was not being able to reach things. It was not being stared at. It was going through life and wanting to be loved romantically and having a hard time with that. Having girls, when I was a young boy, say, I'm sorry, Sean, I can't date a little man in a wheelchair or a little boy in a wheelchair, or my friends make fun of me. I remember getting a note in junior high from a girl that I was dating at the time. In junior high, that basically means you hold hands and go to class together, and or at least it used to. And she wrote me a note once and put it in my locker that says, I have to break up with you because my friends are making fun of me. And it devastated me. And I felt sorry for myself, and I cried. And for years, I believed that the reason why I was struggling and the reason why I could never find love was because of OI, because of being 3 feet tall, because of being, shaped with arms that looked funny, and all of the physical container. And And as time went on, as I got older and became an adult, I continued to sell myself that story that I would not find love, because who would want to love a 3 foot tall man in a wheelchair? I mean, oh goodness, it's going to be a lot of work for them. And I had this sad little pity story. And so it didn't mean I didn't go out there and try. I would ask girls out, but underneath it, I had that fear that it's just a matter of time. She's going to not want to be with me because of my disability. And that energy shined through and pushed women away. And it also stopped me from approaching and getting into relationships. And so I'm here to tell you that no matter what age you are, it feels good to be loved. And the best way that we can get love, whether you have OI or not, is you need to be confident. You need to grow up in this world and get to know yourself and become friends with yourself and be positive and look at the bright side and be supportive of other people. And, if you're confident and you're comfortable in your own skin, that's taken me years. But I've made that a goal of mine, to be comfortable in my own skin. And you know what happened? Every time I fell in love with somebody who was massively insecure, they couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle being stared at in public with me. They couldn't handle what their parents would think. I had girls when I was in my 20s say, my parents don't think I should fall in love with you, Sean, because I shouldn't grow up and get married to a little man in a wheelchair. And I was devastated, but I also said, you know what, then you're not the right one for me. And being confident is a big part of helping you find love with OI. And being patient. It took time to develop my confidence. The next thing that I want to tell you about finding love, no matter what age you are, and this relates to everybody, not just those with OI, is you got to be direct. When there's somebody that you like, you have to be able to say, look, I'd like to go out on a date with you. I'm attracted to you. I like you. And if you want to be noticed, you have to be noticeable. And you have to get out there and talk to people and be social. You can't expect to find love no matter what age you are with OI if you're not out there knocking on doors. If you're not out there going to groups to meet people. If you're not out there making yourself available and letting people know that you're on the market. Now, don't be weird and pushy about it, but you got to be direct. The only reason why my wife knew that I was serious about wanting to be in a relationship with her is because I didn't let her put me in the friend zone. Right away, I told her, look, I'm not looking for another friend. Now, granted, I was in my 30s when I met her, but I said, I'm not looking for another friend. I'd like to go on a date with you. And she said, well, what's a date? What's a coffee date to you? And I said, it ends with a good kiss. That's what a date is. And she's like, well, we'll see. We'll see if it's a good date. And the chemistry started from that moment forward. But she would have never probably thought of me romantically unless I put that out there. You have to be willing to get rejected. And I got rejected numerous times. And I kept moving forward. And that's the next lesson when it's about finding love with OI. You can't quit. You can't stop if somebody says, I don't want to be with you. You have to just go on to the next one until finally you find somebody they don't settle for you. They celebrate you and they feel like they got a gift by being with you. No matter how severe your disability is, no matter what level or severity your osteogenesis imperfecta is, no matter how tall you are, you want to be in a relationship with somebody that screams from the rooftop that they get to be with you. I'm very fortunate that I hung in there and met the woman of my dreams. My wife, Mindy, is one of my best friends in the whole world. And we've gone through many challenges together. And the reason why that it works is that early on when we were dating, one of her friends said, Mindy, I think it's wonderful that you can look past Sean's disability. And Mindy was like, what? I'm not looking past anything. I'm looking right at it, and I'm celebrating it, and I'm loving it, and I am knowing exactly what I'm falling in love with. And it's not that I'm dealing with him amidst his disability. I'm celebrating all of him. And his disability is a part of who he is. Now, I'm paraphrasing a lot of things that she probably didn't say, but that's the meaning that she was coming to that conversation with. And when you are growing up and living with OI, there may be people that you fall in love with that don't want to be with you. And you can't be angry at them. You almost have to thank them for telling you early on. Because the worst thing that you could do is not spend the rest of your life by yourself. That's not the worst. The worst is to be in a relationship with somebody that you settled for, who tolerated your disability but is not good to you, or who doesn't celebrate you and doesn't want to make it public that they're with you. That sucks. You want to be in a relationship and you want to be around people that absolutely adore you, all of you, your size, your wit, your smile, everything about your disability in your container. You want to make sure that you're with somebody who is not just your lover, not somebody who's just attracted to you, but who's your friend. You know, my parents told me over and over and over, marry your best friend, Sean. And I did. Mindy Kniss is my best friend. We have a lot of fun together. And as I've gone through these trials and tribulations with OI, there's no one I'd rather be with than my wife. And I can tell you that growing up, there were times where rejection in love was so hard because I was convinced that I was cursed with this freakish body. And it's not true. This body is awesome. And it gives me superpowers. And your body is awesome. And it gives you superpowers. And we have about 5 minutes left. I want to take some questions here that I got on the emails. And I'm going to answer some of them. They're specifics about OI. And before I do that, I just want to thank you for being on this program. I know there's a million things I could have talked about. I know I could have gone in any number of directions. I know I talked about things that maybe were a little touchy or hit close to home. And I just want you to know that I'm proud of you for even being on this program and wanting to educate yourself more. And I'm grateful for your time. And I hope that when this replay comes out, you share it with people. And I hope that this really touches the OI community long after Sean Stevenson is dead and buried at 115 years old. and I bless you and I thank you for being on this program. So let's get to the questions, shall we? Question number 1. Sean, what type of extracurricular activities did you engage in as a child? Great question. Obviously, well, not obviously, but I was not in any sports. The physical contact sports were not an option for me. And so I got involved with student council. I got into the school musicals. I used my my talents in high school to get involved in the radio station. I had a radio show. I did a TV show when I was in high school. I was involved in Cub Scouts. I was really big into, I think one year I was in the ecology club studying about the environment. I did as many things as I could. I mean, I was involved in a lot of activities, but I'd say that probably what took most of my time was student council and being in the television station. I had lots of different TV shows. I filmed a TV soap opera with our high school TV show. I had a politics show. I did as many things as I could to be visible in public. And that's because I learned that being outgoing and extroverted really was my saving grace as somebody with OI. Because if you are shy in life in general and you're afraid of your own shadow, that's challenging enough. If you're shy and you have OI, you're really going to get stuck. So I would do things to get out there publicly, have people see me, and talk to people and educate people. Next question. Did you spend time with others in the OI community as a child or later on? I got involved with the OI community probably in my first conference in 1990 at Pittsburgh. And I still have some of my friends there to this day that I met. And I gotta tell you, it's not popular maybe to say this, but it freaked me out. I was a kid, first time seeing a bunch of people with OI, seeing all these different bodies and shapes and people on crutches and canes and wheelchairs and motorized chairs, and I was just like, what? I don't know about this. And after about a day of like freaking out, going to my room, crying a little bit at times, because I was like, am I going to look like that when I grow up? Am I going to look like that? But after about a day of kind of going through my pity party and dealing with that, I started to make friends. And I love that about the conferences. And I think it's important to go to conferences. If you can afford to go, make it happen. If you can afford to spend time with people with OI, I think it's invaluable. And I've continued to stay in touch with people with OI. And I'm so grateful for things like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all the different social media outlets where we can all communicate. And I also am a big believer that the OI Foundation is very important to our community. Yes, we can start our own little Facebook fan pages. Yes, we can communicate with each other. But having a foundation and using the foundation's resources and learning and connecting through their newsletters and going to their conferences. Look, I'm not paid to say any of this stuff. I'm just a big believer that the foundation is something that we all need to be supporting because it gets our message out there and makes it more public. I'll answer two more questions and then we're going to call it for the night. What advice would you give to children with OI struggling with social exclusion and lowered self-esteem? Great question. First of all, self-esteem is something that needs to be fostered and built over time. It's not something you're inherently born with. I was on the board of directors for the National Association for Self-Esteem for a few years, and it was a big organization around the world. And I learned a lot from probably the leader of self-esteem, the grandfather of self-esteem, Nathaniel Branden. You're going to want to look up his books. He has nothing to do with OI or disabilities, but learn about self-esteem. And a lot of it has to do with becoming friends with yourself. A lot of self-esteem is about developing your skills and your talents and feeling that you are worthy on this planet and working on your self-love. And so I'm a big believer that when a young individual, whether they have OI or not, is dealing with social exclusion, that's when we need to swoop in and catch them doing things right. We need to catch them with their talents and foster those talents. You know, when somebody feels like they have a skill, and when we develop these skills over the course of our life, then we don't think about what we don't have because we're too busy looking at what we can do. I think my self-esteem was developed, of course, by my parents. They always told me, Sean, you have to look at this condition as a gift, not a burden. And they would have me focus on what I could do. And, you know, self-esteem is something that you have to see is fostered over time, no matter how old you are. I am a big believer in teaching self-esteem, and I have courses about self-esteem, and I have programs about self-esteem. But at the end of the day, it's about loving yourself. It's about not needing validation from others. It's not about looking for approval from others. It's about knowing you're awesome and that you're amazing and that you don't need anything externally to feel good. That if you can enjoy your life and look for the ways that you can give back, you're going to have a great quality life. I hope that I was of value for you today. I hope that this material resonated with you in some way. I'm sure that there'll be more questions, and maybe I'll offer future programs if it's of value to the community. But I thank you. I love you. I am so grateful for your time. Thank you for being on this program, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.